What an Avon Lake welcome. Thank you so very much. What an honor to be with you. Thank you, Senator Portman, and thank you, Lieutenant Governor Taylor. She has been going with us all over the state, and her support and help means the world, as does your senators. By the way, as you know, he was my sparring partner in debate prep, and he was real strong. I'm finally... it's nice not to argue with him all the time as I was, so and it's good to have him with me on the campaign trail. I want to say also how much I appreciate Congressman Jim Renace's work, and he's working hard to make sure he represents you well. We've got to re-elect him as the next congressman from this district, and we got some other folks here you may know. Chairman Reince Priebus, who's the chairman of the Republican Party, is here today, and happy to have him in Avon Lake, and also the former Cleveland Browns great, and you know Gary Baxter is here. I know where Gary is, but he's here, and appreciate his support in the campaign. Now, I have to tell you, I've been heartened by the support that our campaign is receiving across the nation. I think the attention that this being focused on this race is in part because people recognize just how much is at stake. This is a critical time for the country. We face enormous challenges, massive debt. We face an economy that's not putting our people to work in the jobs that they need. Young people coming out of college can't find work. Half of them can't find work. Around the world, we face a China, which is going to be a major economic power, already is, and will be an even stronger power down the road, has been taking a lot of jobs from people here in Ohio. We also face radical violent jihadists who are resurgent. So we face enormous challenges, and as a result, this is a big election about big things. And I'm very proud of the fact that our team has worked very hard to focus on what we will do to bring real change, big change, to a country that badly needs it. We have a president today. We have a president today who has a different view about where America is. His view is that we're on the right track, that there's no need for major change. My view is that this track is the wrong course for America, that this is a turning point for America, and as a result, those people in this country who want real change from day one are going to vote for Paul Ryan and myself. And I need your help doing that. As I go across the country, I recognize that people, they don't want 23 million Americans to be out of work or looking for a good job. They want people to have good jobs. They don't want an administration that's comfortable with trillion-dollar deficits every year. They're not happy with the prospect of half our kids not being able to get good jobs when they come out of college. And they don't like the gridlock in Washington. And so our campaign is about real change from day one. And over the coming days, I'm going to be talking to people across the country about what those changes will look like. Let me mention one to you today. It relates to taxes. And this is kind of a detailed topic, but let me just put this in perspective. The ability of America to create jobs for America's workers depends on whether entrepreneurs are willing to start businesses and hire people, and also on whether big companies that have been around for a long time are willing to build factories here and expand and hire more people. If you want good jobs when you get out of school, if you want good jobs and you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s, well, you have to see entrepreneurs starting businesses and big companies growing. And what you've seen over the last several years is the opposite of that. You've seen big companies going elsewhere. You've seen entrepreneurs pull back. As a matter of fact, we're at a 30-year low in the number of new businesses that have started up. Now, one of the reasons that businesses have not been investing in America and adding jobs is as they look around the world and see how much they're going to have to pay to government, they see that in this country, we pay more to government, if you're a business, than any other major country in the world. So in Europe, for instance, their corporate tax rate, which used to be higher than ours, is now down to 25%. Ours is 35%. So businesses that are thinking of investing are interested in going elsewhere. Canada, they brought their tax rate down to 15%. So businesses are going there to save money. What we're going to have to do, and I will do on day one, is propose that we bring our corporate tax rate from 35 down to 25. Now you might think, same time, we're gonna have to get rid of some deductions and exemptions and loopholes so we keep getting the revenue we need, but we want to bring the tax rates down to make America and Ohio an even more interesting place to invest. And then there's small businesses. Because small business typically doesn't pay the corporate tax rate. They pay the individual tax rate. It's also at 35%. So I want to bring it down. I want to bring down the individual rate as well, across the board, for all Americans. And I'll make those proposals to our Congress on day one. We're going to get real change in place from day one. Now, there are other things I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that we finally get America on track to have a balanced budget. We can't keep spending more money than we take in. You see, what we're talking about, these topics that sound like big government policy, 35%, 25%, balancing budgets, they affect the lives of individual Americans. This is about you and about your life. And I say that because let's say you're a senior, for instance, and you've, I see a senior here waving her. No, you're not a senior. I meant senior by age, not senior in high school. I'm sorry. And let's say you're a 65-year-old or older. And when you, let's say, get a medical condition that requires the care of a specialist, if you call the specialist's office and ask for an appointment, if we install Obamacare, as the president would, 50% of America's doctors say they're going to say no to any new Medicare patients because the rates have been brought down so much. He's cut Medicare $716 billion. So at a time in your life when health care matters so much, people are going to find less ability to choose the doctor that they want. And that's why when I'm elected president, I'm not going to cut Medicare $716 billion. I'm going to restore Medicare and make sure seniors are given the promise that was made to them. And if you're a college student, and I know we have a lot of high school students here today, at some point you'll be college students. When you graduate, you're going to find that you have a lot of student debt. $10,000, $20,000, maybe more. And you'll be paying the interest on that for a long, long time. But I have some news that's not very good news for our college-bound young people. And that is when they graduate, under the president's administration, half won't be able to find a good job. I'm going to make sure people coming out of college are able to get good jobs. And besides that student debt you got to pay off, because the president's been spending massively more than he's been taking in, we're passing on debts to your generation. You guys don't know it, but there's about $50,000 of debt that you're going to have to pay throughout your life. And so when you get your first payroll stub and you see taxes being withdrawn, that's money that's being paid not for what was given to you, but what was given to my generation. In my view, it's not just bad economics, but it's immoral for us to keep spending what we don't have. I'll get us on track to a balanced budget. And if you're a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old and you're in the prime earning years of your life, it may not feel like you're able to put away what you thought you could put away right now. Because the expectation had been you could put some money away for retirement, or perhaps help a kid in college. But a lot of people who are employed are finding it's hard to make ends meet. As a matter of fact, I was speaking with a guy from Waukesha, Wisconsin the other day. He said he used to get, there's a Wisconsinite back there somewhere. There she is. He used to get $25 an hour plus benefits. Now he can only find a job at $8 an hour without benefits. And then there are another 23 million Americans that are struggling to find a good job. Look, people in this country are having hard times under this president's economic policies. And when asked what he's going to do to get this economy going in the debates, we've had now 4 of them, presidential and 1 vice presidential, there hasn't been an agenda. The president hasn't been able to lay something out other than to say we're going to stay the course and continuing down the same road. He calls it going forward. I call it forewarned. All right? We know where this road heads. I actually have a plan. I have a plan that'll create 12 million new jobs. It has 5 parts. Number 1, we're going to take full advantage of our oil, our coal, our natural gas, our nuclear, our renewables. Number two, we're going to open more trade, particularly with Latin America. Latin America is an enormous economy. I want to open up that market. And by the way, if nations cheat in trade, we will stop them. We have to label those who are cheating for what they are and make sure we protect our jobs and our industries. Number 3, I want to make sure our training programs work for the workers of today and that we have schools that are doing the job for the kids so they have the skills they need for tomorrow. Number 4, I mentioned balancing the budget. And number 5, we're going to champion small business and help small business grow and thrive. And all this is going to happen because we're going to do something that's been spoken about in campaign after campaign, but not done. And that is, I'm going to reach across the aisle and work with Democrats. I'm going to find common ground. We have to find a way to work with people in the opposition party. Democrats love America. Republicans love America. We can come together. I was governor of a state with a legislature that was 85% Democrat. I knew from the very beginning, to get anything done, I had to reach across the aisle. And I did. We were able to cut state spending, not just lower the rate of growth, but cut it. We cut taxes as well. We balanced our budget. We created a $2 billion rainy day fund. We worked together, Republicans and Democrats. I will meet regularly with Democrats in Washington, with their leaders and my party's leaders, and battle together to find ways to help the American people. It is high time for us to put the interests of the American people above the interests of politics. And I'll do it. And I'm confident. I want you to know I'm confident. I'm confident in the future. I'm absolutely convinced that America's greatest days are ahead. In this time of great challenge, there are also great opportunities. I've seen the heart of the American people throughout my life. I recognize the great qualities of the human spirit in the American heart. I remember I was a Boy Scout leader some years ago, and I was... We got some Boy Scouters here. Wonderful. Boy Scout shirt right there. And I was at a court of honor. This Boy Scout knows what that means. It's where Eagle Scout awards are given, or other awards. And I was seated at the end of a Formica table at the front of the room next to an American flag. And the scout leader who was speaking was the scoutmaster from Monument, Colorado. And he said that his Boy Scout troop wanted to have a very special American flag. So they bought one with gold tassels, and they had it flown above the Capitol. When it came home, they decided to ask NASA if they'd take it on the space shuttle. So they called, and NASA said they'd do it. He said the boys were so proud as they were looking from their home rooms at school as they watched the shuttle Challenger launch, and then they saw it explode on the TV screen before their eyes. And he said he contacted NASA a couple of weeks later and asked if they'd found any remnant of their flag, and they hadn't. He said he called every week, week after week after week, and still nothing. And after several months of trying, he gave up, until one day he was reading an article in the newspaper about the Challenger disaster and the debris that had been recovered, and they mentioned something about a flag. So he called NASA and said, "Have you found our flag?" And they said, "As a matter of fact, we have a presentation to make to your boys." So NASA came together with their troop, presented them with a container. He said, "We opened this plastic container, and inside was our flag in perfect condition." And he said, "That's it on the flagpole next to Mr. Romney." And I reached out and pulled out the flag, and it was as if electricity was running through my arm. Because I thought of the men and women in our space program who have lived their life for something bigger than themselves. who walked in danger's way for us, for learning, for knowledge, for pioneering. Think of our men and women who serve in the armed forces. Their willingness to walk in danger's way for us, for liberty, for freedom. It's part of the American character to give of oneself to something bigger than oneself. It is who we are. It is true in the patriots in the space program, the patriots who serve in our military, the patriots who serve in homes. My sister Lynn is in her 70s. She has 8 children. They're all married with kids of their own except the youngest. The youngest, Jeffrey, was born Down syndrome. Jeffrey's about 43 years old right now. Lynn's husband passed away a few years ago. So she's at home with Jeffrey, and she has devoted the last 43 years of her life to making sure that Jeffrey's life is as full and complete as it can possibly be. A hero to me. I think of the single moms across the country who are scrimping and saving right now so they can have a good meal on the table at the end of the day for their children. I think of the men and women who are working 2 jobs right now, or perhaps a mom working the day shift and a dad working the night shift, so they rarely see each other. They're working 2 jobs. Why? So their kids will be able to have the kind of clothes other kids at school have and won't stand out. I think of the number of couples across America that aren't going to have Christmas this year by exchanging gifts with each other, but instead are going to save so they can give their kids a better Christmas. That is who we are as a people. We're a generous people who are known for our large hearts, for our willingness to give to others and to improve their lives. This is that kind of time in America. We face real challenges. It's a time when the people of Ohio are given to have clear eyes. You can see what needs to be done. I'm counting on you to be able to see the importance of this race and to make the right choice. I know that as Americans you have full hearts. There was a fictional football team on TV a few years ago called Friday Night Lights, and in the show the athletes, as they'd go off on the playing field, the football players, they'd touch a sign that said, "Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose." I'm convinced that on November 6th, the people of Ohio, with their clear eyes and full hearts, are going to make sure that America can't lose. We're taking back this country. We're going to keep it strong. This country is the hope of the earth. I need your help. One more thing I want to mention to you. You with full hearts and clear eyes can see what's happening across the country right now. And on the eastern coast of our nation, a lot of people are enduring some very difficult times. And our hearts and our prayers go to them as we think about how tough it's going to be there. I don't think there's been a hurricane in Ohio in a long time. But there's been some hurricanes that have caused a lot of damage across this country and hurt a lot of families. And there are families in harm's way that will be hurt either in their possessions or perhaps in something more severe. And so I'd like to ask you who are here today to think about making a contribution to the Red Cross or to another relief agency, to be of help if you possibly can in any way you can imagine to help those that are in harm's way. We've faced these kind of challenges before, and as we have, it's interesting to see how Americans come together. And this looks like another time when we need to come together all across the country, even here in Ohio, and make sure that we give of our support to the people who need it. So I'm asking you to look for a way to do that. I know our victory centers are making collections of items and cash that we can send along to the Red Cross. But whether you come to our victory center or instead you just do it from your email, your internet account, do your very best to help. We're counting on Ohio. I know the people of the Atlantic coast are counting on Ohio and the rest of our states. But I also think the people of the entire nation are counting on Ohio. Because my guess is that if Ohio votes me in as president, I'll be the next president of the United States. Thank you so very much.